Welcome everyone. This video shows a movement example in Axis and Allies Battle of the Bulge. Now if you watched my attack example, I actually rolled out the attack that I showed there, and this was the result. The infantry here was destroyed, and the tank had to move here because it cannot move here because that's an enemy zone of control exerted by the enemy infantry. So it could not have moved there. It could not have moved in there either for the same reason. I suppose it could have moved over there, but it moved over here. Here, two infantry were destroyed and the artillery and the tank moved here. Again, they cannot move here because it would be an enemy zone of control. They couldn't move across this river border because retreating or moving across a river border is prohibited for artillery and tanks, and also for trucks, by the way, if there's no bridge. If there were a bridge, then it would actually be okay. A bridge is simply a road running across a river. What else happened? Well, here the infantry survived, the artillery was killed, and the tank retreated here. Again, here it was impossible to retreat to because there's an enemy zone of control. It couldn't retreat here because of the river border, and so this was the only possibility. There is a river here, but there's a road running across it, and if it's prohibited, it's actually shown by means of these lines. Now, what can the Germans do now? To activate a hex for movement, you again pay one supply. It doesn't matter how many hexes you actually want to move into, so that's different from attacking. So I don't know, it doesn't really matter which one of the three you take, so I'm just going to take this one, and this means that this hex is activated for movement. Now, I cannot move in here because it's enemy occupied. I cannot move in here because it's enemy occupied. If it were, let's say that the artillery was destroyed too, the tanks and artillery still could not move in here because of the river border. I split up these units in the previous attack, as you may have seen in that video, but that doesn't mean that, for instance, these two infantry, which technically took part in the attack against this hex, could not move in here. So that would be perfectly allowed as well. But again, the artillery survived, so in this case it's not possible. So the only hex they can actually move into is this one. Now you may say, wait a minute, isn't there an allied unit there? Yes, but it's a truck. It's not a combat unit, and the same is true for the supplies. So the Germans can just move in here. Now, for the sake of the example, I'll just move in one unit, but I would probably move in most of them. And this would mean that the Germans would later take control of the hex. That only happens after the front line is moved, by the way, which is also why the victory points, for instance, aren't scored until then. If you moved up a German tank from here, it would have to stop here as well. It could blitz into there, but that would be it. I'll show you blitzing, how that works, in a separate video. But anyway, this would mean that later on during the board upkeep phase, which is the last phase of the game, the Germans would actually take control of the town hex of La Roche. They would commandeer the truck, which means that they exchange the American truck here for a German counterpart, and they would capture the three supplies. So again, to summarize, movement is also paid for by supplies. You place one supply token in that hex, usually in the direction it moved, but if you move into multiple hexes, you still just pay one, unlike attacks. And if you move into an enemy hex that contains only trucks and or supplies, you commandeer them, you capture them, and they're yours in the next turn. And again, if this unit had been destroyed and this one as well, you could have moved multiple units into multiple directions from this hex, and you would still only pay one supply. I hope this clarifies the movement possibilities a little bit. Thank you for watching.